and then we get started. No. Okay, great. So, hey everyone, I'm very happy to announce and present the last talk of our Urban Issues Data-Based Architecture and Urbanism talk with Santamaria of, I don't know how to pronounce the name of your office, by the way. It's like 300,000 kilometers per second. Is it? Okay.
300,000 in Spanish sounds very much sexist, but...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, great. Ma will be the last of the 4 presentations we had in the semesters on how far maybe big data will change architecture and urbanism. And in a very brief 2 sentences, her office is basically working around design, data analysis, and consulting services for cities. And they've been working with data for quite a while, and have been getting wonderful and striking prizes like the Start Prize 2019, for example, for their work. So we're really curious to see a bit more about their work and what they've been doing the last few years on that issue. So Ma, if you like to take over and share your screen, yeah, let's start.
So thank you, Benedict. We'd love to be there with you all in Hanover. We need to do it like this, but anyway, it's my pleasure to share the work that we do in the studio. So, okay. So tonight, I would like to talk about 2 projects. The one that received this Stars Prize and also the Spanish Urban Planning Prize last year, and the Catalan one also this past year, which is the land use plan of Ciutat Vella. And then another recent project, which is it's in the oven mostly, which it's related to the work that we have been doing, or we are doing at the moment for the next Venice Biennale, last, but it's going to be this year. So just to define a little bit, the work we do at 300 kilometers per second. We like to see ourselves, like a urban planning agency, in the sense that we are a mixture of architects, planners, lawyers, data analysts, engineers. So we are a really, a small but huge crowd of different professionals, that is giving us some transversal perspective on the way that we need to be looking at cities today. Pablo and myself, which co-founded the office, we come from a very traditional background, from the School of Barcelona, with this long tradition in urban planning methodologies, really based on morphology. And we had like great teachers like Manuel de Sola Morales, Joan Busquets, Oriol Boigas, so this really long duration on urban planning. But at a certain point, I would say 6 years, 7 years ago, we feel the need to change a little bit the tools that we were using at the moment. So now, 7 years after, we like to say that we draw cities with novel methodologies. It's what we do. So that means that basically the work that we do in the office is to work, analyze, try to understand. So like 80% of the work, it's about diagnosis, the understanding, the redrawing of the city. And then we have a 20% when we jump to recommendations, to public policies, to like the final step of the process. But we love, we like, like our passion, it's this first part, trying to understand by redrawing what is happening with the cities today. Cities that are really complex right now, there are a lot of things that happen, in the cities, like COVID, like digital disruptions, like other questions that need or that for us make this change of mentality. So to put it in really 4 short concepts and not to be really long in this introduction, what we think we add to urban planning is these 4 ideas. The first one is behavior, in the sense that coming from this long tradition of the urban planning of Barcelona, where we know really well how to analyze the urban morphology, and we understand it really, 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 really well. We understand the city, as Richard Sennett says, in one of these last books, is not just build, but it's also cité. The idea that the city, it's not a built city, but we have another layer on the top, is how the city is behaving, how the city is moving, how the city is waking up, which are these different interchanges related to how citizens are using this city. So this first idea of behavior for us, it's really important. Then how we represent this, like the point is, okay, we want to add this new layer of behavior, and that's not that easy. So when we start the office in Barcelona, there was just one data set in the open data portal of the city council, and a data set that had for each of the plots of the city the number of inhabitants. That was like all the information that we have of this behavior, where we had the inhabitants. So we need to understand that now I think we are in a very challenging moment for a lot of reasons, and maybe we can discuss after in the Q&A. But the idea is that we have a more rich ecosystem of data to produce urban planning. Not only this traditional data related to statistics, that it's super important, of course, not only topographical maps or like aerial photos, something that we architects and planners know really well how to manipulate, but we have data from the cell phones, we have data from how the city council or like the companies that work with them are managing the urban services. We have data about mobility, we have data about bank transactions, we have data about a lot of things. So we go from this idea of structured data from planning to this idea of a causal data ecosystem where we have new forms of data. So if we want to talk about behavior now, in this moment, we can do it. And for us that, it's really important because we can start making new questions to urban planning, And basically, like looking back a little bit, all the projects that we have done in the past 5 years has something in common, which is the idea of the commons, So, and actually the 2 projects that I'm going to explain today, it's about the commons that we have in the city. So the commons, it's our quality of life, it's the noise, it's the right, to a silent city, it's a right, to a healthy city, which is related to where, So we have common spaces, or like common topics in the city that cannot be described without all this causal data ecosystem. So we have done a lot of projects about about intangibles, that we like to to name it like that. And finally, like the final step that we add in all this process is that we understand that planning is a process. In the sense that there's a technical part, that it's ourselves, it's the planners, but of course we have the technicians in the municipalities, and we have the citizens, and we have other actors that are involved in this transformation of the city. So for us, no, like all this process of urban planning, it's enriched when we make a collaborative drafting. So just to exemplify in really three images, this is like this traditional background where we come from. These are some images that we have produced for the Barcelona Metropolitan Master Plan that it's going to be approved in the next 2 years. And it's going to be define what is going to happen with Barcelona and the 35 municipalities around. This is a preliminary analysis where we were, thanks to the information that we have in Spain, of the land use, we were able to paint this super detailed city plot per plot, use per use. Here we have the industry outside Barcelona. Here we have Paseo de Gracia, La Rambla. So this mix of offices, offices and commerce. Then we have around the city all this magenta, which is the housing. So we have means, and we have data sets that enable us to make this representation of this morphology. But on the other hand, in this master plan, for the first time, we use information about where people was working. Not population, it's not the people who's sleeping in the city, but we have commuters every day, that go, from their home away from Barcelona, they come, to work here, And here you see the same city, the same Passeig de Gracia and Diagonal, where in yellow we have the workers, okay. Here in magenta, we have the people sleeping, and then we have this intersection. So we can start understanding how this behavior is changing every day. And here, with this last image, it's how to change the way we understand mobility in the city. This is an image that was made with Twitter at the moment, but nobody was aware of privacy issues. Everyone was with their, was going around with their GPS connected. So we had like millions of points. It was a really a data party. We enjoy a lot, okay. And we were able to describe, the mobilities between Barcelona and the different municipalities around. This is, for example, the airport, so you can see the strong relation that we have between the city and the airport or other minor cities that that are conforming this metropolitan scale. So casual data, of course, it's an opportunity. And an opportunity that we need to understand how we need to take advantage of it, and that enables us to make this change of mindset on the way we are approaching urban planning. And to exemplify, with two projects, how we make this process, how we discover the data, how we understand where we have a topic of work, where we have an opportunity, which is the process that we follow in our planning process, from this analysis to this diagnosis using data. So the first project is this land use plan of Ciutat Vella. Ciutat Vella is the main district of Barcelona, where we have going from Plaza Catalunya to the harbor, and then to this line of this diagonal of Parallel and Barceloneta. So like this, I would say like the more representative part that you could have from Hanover of our city. So it's this core area, the historic, the historic center, and I think the images are talking by themselves. We are having a huge problem there related to not only tourism, okay, but this idea that this is the center of too much things happening there. we have a lot of people of in the public space, that it's putting a lot of pressure in the public space. And the situation in 2017 was so critic that the city council understood that they need to change the regulation that was put in place at the moment to try to solve this situation. So it was it was reaching as a point where we have really this public health problem related with noise. I have here you can read it some testimonials that were extracted from a survey that the Public Health Agency of Barcelona made aside with us to understand that really here we had a really huge conflict. We have people that were leaving the neighborhood because they couldn't stand the situation. All people that was living there that couldn't open the windows because it was too noisy. A small child that were having trouble in the school. So the problem really was there. It was quite related to this idea of noise. And for us, it's this sometimes from the conflict, you get the idea, so the project is about mixing these data technologies, or sometimes we call it casual data, sometimes we call it data technologies, but understanding that we have a problem that we need to describe, and we need to describe it really well, really accurate, to be able to solve it in the best way possible. And we cannot leave behind the citizens, which are the ones that are experiencing this bad situation. In the context of the plan, I think it's really important, because it's a plan that was put in place at the same time, where the city was transformed during the Olympic Games, and at the time, this type of planning was regulating hotels, restaurants, and with the years it becomes very much complicated, and it's regulating a whole part of the economic activity of the city. And in Europe, we have, like in Spain, in Germany, in all Europe, we have this directive of services that enable every activity to establish with freedom around Europe. So that means that I cannot ban someone to open a restaurant in Barcelona. So that would go against this directive of services. But if I'm able to demonstrate that I'm really harming or or altering the quality of life of the city, then there is like a kind of exception of this directive. So we need to make like the crime is the noise. So we have that we know that we need to demonstrate that this is happening. And for that is where we use all this causal data ecosystem. So here in 2017, we were using for the first time some data sets that were in the drawers of officers in the city council. We were using for the first time information about the Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi of the city that enable us to understand where people was moving around. We were using bank transactions to understand how the activity was going from the north part of the district to the south part, where we have Plaza Real or and Barceloneta, maybe these places which are very much related with party. So we were able to just using the data that was available at the moment, but also opening data to create a really complex atlas with more than 150 cartographies that describes the problem. And we get really important insights as like the complaints to the city police, where someone was really angry that you call to say, okay, there's a part of my building, I cannot sleep. We got the geolocation of these complaints. So we know exactly where this noise was, if we have economic activities, and with that, we try to draft conclusions. Another information that was really important for the plan was the location of the sound meters. We are really lucky here in Barcelona that we have for more than 10 years an infrastructure of sound sensors that it's working really well. It's also public and it belongs to the city council. And as you can see in the images, the photo is changing a lot between a normal day and the weekends. We have this hot spot here, which is this area of Plaza Real and La Rambla and so on, where these sound levels, okay, are overpassing always in every time of the year, like the limit which is established by the World Health Organization, okay, that it's in this point, okay. So imagine at which point we are, so we are overpassing all the limits, all the legal limits and healthy limits. So by working with these doctors, this public health agency of Barcelona, and working with these interviews with the citizens, we were trying to also to establish actually which was the minimum level, like this acceptance level where we was. So imagine from 40 decibels, you need to use sleepers, sedatives. When we go below 50, we start having serious health issues, and then over 60, even psychiatric disorders. So at this point, we have this cartographic analysis. We have this health impact document, and we share that with citizens. This is an image of one of these big meetings with really angry people, okay, that cannot sleep at night. You can imagine that was not. It was beautiful in the sense that we could create something, but it was hard, because people have real problems, in this neighborhood. I forgot to mention, and it's very important. It's the area where we have more inhabited density of the city of Barcelona, where we have more immigration, where we have the low rents, where we have the most low quality of the buildings. So you can imagine this add to this noise problem. So it makes the situation or like this. It is a scenario that seems really romantic and cool. It's not. The conflict. The conflict is there. So the process of drafting, then it has this first part of the analysis. We share the analysis with the technical part. We share it also with the citizens. We have a feedback. We correct. We modulate. Everything. And then also we work with the scenarios. Part of the drafting process includes talking with politicians. Politicians, then they need to understand which is the vision that we are projecting for this small piece of Barcelona, where we say that we will ban. It's something that the plan is saying. We will ban all the disco bars and the nightclubs until the sound levels are not going to be healthy. That we are going to restrict really restaurants. So we are like making really, I would say in political terms, really polemic decisions. And we need to have also tools, not only to make the analysis, but to make the proposal and then be able to share it. So this is an internal simulation tools that we create for this with for this plan, but we have also applied and adapt for other plans in the city, where with these sliders that you have here, okay, we can change and we can adjust the parameters that finally we decide were the most important in the plan, and share with in a meeting with more than 30 people, be able to find a consensus and a decision. So with all this process, the diagnosis of the impacts, the collaborative drafting, the simulation, we arrived to a proposal that basically it's based in these 5 ideas. The idea of the single zone. I don't know any planner that doesn't love zoning. Everyone loves zoning. So one of the most polemical decisions of this plan was to say that the district was a single zone. In the previous one, like every neighborhood seemed a zone that need to be regulated in a very precise and different way. We decided that Ciutat Bella, it's a single unity, and if you want to say it in another way, every building is unique, and the plan, what it's doing, is to regulate building by building, plot by plot. So understanding that working with parametric data enable us to make a really accurate regulation that 10 years ago was not possible to be able to regulate plot by plot, building by building. Now we can do it. Then of course we have some parameters which are related to the roads width. Then with the housing vulnerability, as I said, it's a neighborhood where we have the low quality of buildings, the low rents. So there are areas that are more vulnerable, and here we said, okay, attention, we are not allowing to open certain activities. And then like the 2 main strategies, which is to divide these activities that we were going to regulate into groups, day and night. That seems something really silly to say that, but it's the first time in a urban planning that we are able to introduce a really short time of the day and the night. Sometimes we regulate thinking about if in 5 years, in 10 years, in 40 years, that what happened during these 2 slots of time that we have in the city. The activities doesn't need to be the same. The impacts are not the same. We know we have this girl that cannot sleep in Ciutat Bella because of the noise of the restaurants and the people in the street. So we divide this, and in this group here, sorry, they are in bird. Sorry. In this group here, which are the night venues, okay, here we were super restrictive. We say you cannot open more than that, more disco bars, and then we are going to control the rest. And of course, we understand there are like other activities that are positive for the neighborhood, and we will be less restrictive. And then the other thing, like the other strategy, is this idea of the double radius, where we are adding impacts. We understood that one activity per se, it's not harmful, but if you have a restaurant and a bar and a disco, then there you have the conflict. So we established like this idea of one radius where we regulate one activity, 2 radius where we regulate like the addition of 2. And basically, these are the 5 strategies. We have the plan, we have this public consultation process where we had a lot of allegations. So people that was not actually doesn't agree with the strategies of the plan. We solved that. We managed to approve with Ada Colau. Here you can see her, okay, the plan in the city, council, that was put in place, and I love to show. I'm here today alone, at home, in my place, but I didn't did it alone. So when we say collaborative drafting, this is just a small part of the team that was involved in the in the drafting of the plan, from the political political leaders, to the neighborhoods, to the technicians that were involved, So for us, Ciutat Bella, it's like what it's doing, it's to proposing, a new governance model, of urban planning, where we have the data and the citizens, and we did something really provocative, which is putting the quality of life in citizens against the free market. Let it put it like this, okay? In a really simple manner, so for us, Ciutat Bella was the very beginning of something. At the moment, we didn't know. We didn't understood, that is 2.5 years ago that the plan was approved. It was put in force. It's working really well, so the activity has really decreased, and it's controlled. The situation is still worse, but it's getting better. And we were not conscious about something, which is the idea of health. I think that now with COVID, everyone, or at least I've seen so many webinars of urban planning and health, urban planning and COVID, the city post-COVID. So in a really drastical way, we understand that the city has a lot to do with health. That it's something that here in Barcelona we have really present with Ildefons Cerdà, that wanted to make a more healthy city, with Arturo Soria in Madrid, with Ciudad Lineal, this idea of the healthy city. But it's something that we need to put in the agenda of urban planning. So this is something that we are starting to share. This is a project that we win before COVID, before everything started, and it's for the Catalan participation in the next Venice Biennale. And it's a project related with this idea of the air, the air we are breathing in cities. So noise for us was an intangible. Air for us it's the other intangible. And let me begin with this image. This is the city of Begur. It's not Barcelona. It's in the Costa Brava. Maybe some of you know Costa Brava and Girona in the north of Catalonia. You see, marvelous landscape. I would prefer to be there right now, doing my lecture. Okay. This is actually the most polluted city in Catalonia of a zone. Okay, so this place, that seems marvelous, with blue sky, transparent sky. It's the most polluted city per zone that we have in Catalonia. So as I think it was the secretary, of the World Health Organization, that said, that air, it's this invisible killer that we have now in cities, and in Barcelona we have a really strong problem with air quality. In the last 10 years, we have been overpassing all the legal limits that were established by the European Union and the World Health Organization. So that means that we have a really huge problem with air in the city. And what the project is about is to understanding which are the different scales of this air pollution, and how it's affecting our health, but also it's provoking us to change the planning. So by using information that we can have, we can actually download from Sentinel data, we can understand how these different pollutants are moving in the world. In the case of Barcelona, we have a really strong problem when we like narrowing the scale using data, that in this case, the Barcelona Supercomputing Center has facilitated us, of these several models that they have of this air pollution at the level of Europe, but also at the scale of the city. We have a problem with the dioxide of nitrogen, but also we have a project with the particles. So we are in a very dry climate where the climate conditions are really dry. We have the winds, so we have this problem with this air that it's moving. Something that we can see, when we narrow this scale using older data from a Catalan company called Lobelia Earth, that has another way of modeling this air, that it's something that is changing every day, every week, every month. So air, it's not something static. It has scales, but also it's something that changes. And also by using data from Barcelona Computing Center, very narrow model, we understand that it's not something that is on top of our cities. It's something that we have in the ground floor, that it remains there, that it's something that changes from one side of the street to the other, from this corner to the other one. So being able to represent all the scales of this air pollution problem that we have in the city, it's one of the objectives of the project, but also to understand that this is affecting, it's causing every year 1,500 deaths in Barcelona. A more accurate, number that was released this year talks about 2,100. So a lot of people it's dying every year per cause of the air pollution. And the project does another thing, that it's understanding that we have, or like air, it's creating also a spatial inequality, at least, in our city, So here, this, this yellow, hats, that you are seeing here, it's the air pollution, related to cars, but also these microparticles which are related to the idea of the density, to the idea that the work that we have in the streets, it's releasing dust, so like we have this dust, in the air, and this dust, it's not affecting all the people in the same way, So we have demographic vulnerability related to the age, So infants, but also all people, it's more affected to this air pollution. There is also a social vulnerability where we have, in Ciutat Vella, these low rents, or here in the other part of Montjuic, or here, these traditional low rents neighborhoods. We have people that have really low quality housing that they cannot change in all their life the place where they live, because they cannot afford to do it. So they are also or always exposed to these damaging air conditions. But also we have a vulnerability which is related to these areas where we have this low quality of the construction. If you have a house which is not well isolated, here in Barcelona it gets really hot in summer. You need to open your window and you inhale this polluted air. So also the housing, it's causing a lot of vulnerabilities, but also vulnerability related to air. Also, if you have a house which is really old, with like where you're the way you are cooking your food, it's not well adapted, then you have internal air pollution. So housing, it's also another vector, but also the idea of the city itself, having this really compact, dense city, it's producing this pollution, and not having, which is these areas, that you are seeing in blue, not having a public space, where you could at least, have a break, of this density. It's also a factor, that has a negative influence. So impact, it's related to this idea of exposition. So people, it's not exposed in the same way. Urban conditions also influence this exposition, and these areas where we have the more dark zones are the areas of the city that are more exposed to this problem. And sometimes what happens is that people know that it's living in these areas where the problem is really important. They don't have cars, so the idea that not always the one that is producing this air pollution, it's the one that it's vulnerable by it. So here I think we have new new ideas to think about on how we need to rethink a little bit our city. So I don't know in Hanover, but at least during the lockdown in Barcelona, like the air pollution levels were like so decreasing. It was you could go on the street, the air seems fresh, the birds were singing. After the lockdown, it was like wow, this is the city we want. And now in November, in between November and December, we overpassed again the limits of the last year. So it happened something that for us was really strange, and we couldn't understand, is that we have seen like the city we wanted to be, but again we are in a really bad position. So for us, like one of the also, like the other objective of the project is to build a conscience on this problem and to provoke urban planners and architects to do something related to that. So the project it's working. Now we have 12 measures, but maybe when we arrive at the Biennale, they are 14 or 13. We don't know, or 20. I don't know. It depends on the conversation that we are having. With all these marvelous teams of scientists, of other technicians, of even people from different institutions that it's involving in round tables and in thinking how we need to operate. But the idea is that we need to do something. And I'm not going to extend in the measures because I think it's really late. I'm going to explain a little bit which is the aim. But the idea is that it's not about changing our mobility model, to have less cars, the cars evaporate, and air pollution problem, it's over. It's not about that, In the case of Barcelona, it's about controlling, how we mix the uses in the city, how we, equilibrate, the housing with the work, how we how we are not creating forced mobility between different parts of the city. So we need to start thinking how we put the uses in the city, how we desaturate, desurbanize, or densify certain areas of the city that still need to be densified, to be able to have an equilibrium. So this idea that we need to take pressure in certain areas of the city because too much things, it's meaning too much pollution. We need to act, as I said, in our housing to improve the quality of the internal air, but also how we relate to this environment that we have outside. Then we need to redesign the street canyon. There's an effect that in the case of Barcelona also it's incremented by the type of winds that we have here. But if we have in a street a section with it's more than one, so you have this proportion between the height and the width. It's more than one, the air remains there, and it not remains there in the sea like in one facade that in the other. So we need to redesign these marvelous streets of Le Champlain with asymmetric sections, because we know that one it's the worst one, the one that has the air pollution, and the other one it's the good one, no? So we won't put the bus stops, no, like the child playgrounds in the areas that we have more pollution, no? So there are decisions related to like the land use, no, like the big scale, and other which are related how we design, no, the public space, how we design the green, no, something which are related to this idea of sustainability, climate change actions that are related to air, but also, no, can mitigate other, no, effects. We need to improve, no, our public space. Once, no, we take out cars, we cannot gain an infrastructure for health, no, and cardiovascular health where people can walk, no. So, no, there's room, no, there's way, no, to do. And of course, it's related to mobility, no? But mobility cannot, no, be rethink or rechange until we do something. And it's not about the mobility of pedestrians, no, and the public transport that need to be, no, or like the bicycle, no, that needs to be enhanced. But it's also about, no, how we control the last mile deliveries that we have seen, no, with COVID. Everyone was buying online, no. A lot of pollutant vehicles, no, were working, no, around the city. So it's not only about rethinking our relation to cars, but our relation to goods, no, and the productive systems, no. So, and at the very end, we are going to eliminate the traffic, no. So for us, this project, no, so that day, I think it synthesized really well, no, the work we try to do in the studio, which are the steps. But we now, no, understand that the future is here, no. It's to use these weapons, no, to use this data, to use, no, cartography and data visualization to provoke, no, this change that needs to be radical because it's design or extinction.
Thank you very much, Maha. Very good last words. So yeah, we're going to start the Q&A now. I guess I'm just going to start for all of us. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I think it was very dense and very interesting to see the way you work and how you use data. And I feel like that the maps and drawings are very beautiful and very dense, but it's also to a certain degree very difficult to read them, or it kind of, if the more data you get into your models and simulate, the more complex the world you show or the future design gets somehow. So it actually gets also very complex to actually read the city or the issues that you try to bring together. So yeah, in a way, maybe you think you're also creating a new, you're creating more complexity by bringing in more and more complex data. And how do you actually then also communicate that very complex data to citizens or politicians and people that you work with?
I think we spent a lot of time on dialoguing and explaining what we do. Actually, we try to publish everything we do on open way. And that's also important because you create a culture also, no, of people understanding maps. We don't love to do simplifications because we understand, no, that if you take a citizen and you explain it well, no, they can arrive to understand. And I will say that we put a lot of effort on communicating, no, the maps, no. So all this work that I was no, explaining, no, from the Venice Biennale, now we are, no, working on an interactive web where you can, no, pick, no, every one of these points and you get the data and you get the legend and, no, and you get, no, like you can have a more traditional, no, read, but you can get into the detail, no. And for us, this feedback with, no, when we are in a process, no, that involves citizenship, it's really important because you can see something on a map that can be totally biased and true or whatever, no. So we spend a lot of time going to the streets, looking, okay, that's really true or not, no? and try to make an effort to to communicate, disseminate, and create a culture. And that goes also for the public servants. So in 7 years, we now we go to the city council and we take out all these dots things, and they know what is it, and they and they know how to read, more or less. So I think it's about creating also case studies, trying to publish and disseminate.
Okay, yes, yeah. Then big data maybe also then asks for a new language in a way, and also a new way to depicting and reading cities in a way that maybe machines see cities and produce data, then affords a different way of depicting and reading the city in a way again. But I would be interested in how far then also these maps or analysis then end up in projects, or rather policies, I guess, in your ways. Are there any other forms of representation or ways that then maybe are clearly linked to the outcome or the spatial impacts of what you show in your maps?
Yes. Actually, we try also to be like the synthesis map, and it gets really confused and messy and complex. But normally, what we are also reclaiming a lot, in the project is the idea of the evaluation. That it's something that I think it was implicit in your questions. So sometimes we arrive at the beginning of the process, but sometimes we arrive at the end. And I explain myself. Now, like 2 days ago, we delivered to the City Council a report on the new Superblock project, that you maybe have heard about it, that it's going to be extended at the scale of the city. And here, we make a report that it's trying to put on the table, which is the B side, of the project, which are the negative impacts that the project can have, with the idea that we can anticipate the evaluation. So the idea that we try also to build indicators, ways of visualizing, how this change is also happening for us. It's really important. So sometimes, like, the data goes also at the very at the beginning and the very end.
Okay, my last question maybe for now. How does that process go, like vice versa? If you start with big data, so a lot of complex data in one point, and then you kind of end up speaking to citizens, and they kind of bringing their perspectives, the testimonials that you showed, how do they come together in a way on the map, or maybe only on, I don't know, the way you discuss
things? Actually, I need to say that like, I think people has a very romantic idea on what big data is. And big data is that you go in your rubbish, in your kitchen, and you start like discovering what's there, So sometimes, you expect, that they are going to give me a data set, It's like, no, I have a data set, in the city council, and you say, okay, let me see, or you download something from the internet. Data, it's not direct, it's transversal, so I think that the game here is to understand how can we talk about a topic using data that apparently has nothing to do. So for example, we use Flickr data to understand where local or which are the points that locals and tourists love more in the city. We lose data from transactions to understand where the activity is during day and during night. We are not interested in the amount of money that is spent. So the idea that working with big data is transversal, and you need to know how to make the question. I think that's important. And normally what we do is that we try to arrive to a point in the diagnosis where we say, okay, we have first impressions that for us, no, come from the different. It doesn't mean that we are all the day working with big data. We work a lot with the statistics, with open data portal things. Sometimes we know that the city council is working on a topic, and we write directly to the transparency portal and said we want this data set, no, because we are studying this, no. So it's a kind of mixing of a cocktail, okay, of different types of data that, no, they precipitate, and in a moment, no, we have, no, like a fair result, and that we share, no, with citizens, with technical staff, no, no, and that's the point, no, where you need, no, to discover if you are aligned or not, no, and normally we know. We have the chance that we work here in Spain, and or like we have been working in Copenhagen recently, that there are contexts that more or less can be similar and can have the same conflicts. So it's not that we orient the analysis, but we try to understand which are the topics that we want to include, and then to find which is the data that it's more relevant to these topics.
Yeah. In the beginning you said like you spent 80% of your time with analysis and then 20% with design. Feels like that there's a lot of time also consumed on communication.
Exactly. Sure. I will change it for the next presentation. Yeah, but the idea is that for us, it's not a problem that another planner then goes after us and decides what to do with the information. What the mission is to inform the urban planning, and to be more data driven, in the decisions. And I think it's something, that it's really important. I will be very happy if someone reads our recommendations on the report of the super blogs, and they are applying. So that's the point.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you for your very interesting lecture. Sorry for coming a bit late, but I think I didn't miss a word of your lecture. Was quite interesting, and especially there were two things that made me very curious, or also showed your special position maybe in the field. This is the one thing that Benedict already mentioned, the 80-20% he was just talking about. And the other thing was when you're talking about your team, that it's people from very different fields working with you. For example, you mentioned that you're also working with lawyers, for example. Yeah. And when I was listening to your talk, I got a bit the impression of what you're doing is basically formulating the evidence.
Exactly.
For a case.
Exactly.
A case that is going to be maybe the case for better life in cities. Mm-hmm. And somewhere out there is a lawyer or there's a planner, whoever, and he or she is taking your evidences to basically discuss or to change the situation. And what is interesting about it is that the evidences are drawn evidences. It is not collecting arguments and words, but that you can show the map, and the map is basically the proof that something has to be changed in the situation.
It doesn't mean that we love to plan. I've drafted a lot of plans, in my past life. But the thing is that planning can be very boring. You may know, like qualifications at a certain point, no, we enjoy like, working with new topics in the city, So now, for example, we are working on this is a small area, of Gracia that maybe that it's this like, piece, at the end of the diagonal. And we are working with another team that it's actually, like the planning part and so on. But we managed to introduce, in a regulation, the idea of the e-commerce and how we need to regulate the urban logistics. So how we need to add these new complexities that are very much related, to digitization, to these platforms, for mobility as service, for tourism as service, like Airbnb, like urban logistics, So these new topics, how we introduce that, in the serious, and more abstract planning. We love to do the more abstract planning, not just, maybe Barcelona, can have the image, that the planner goes to the urban project, We love the more abstract, level of it, and there we enjoy a lot. But it doesn't happen always.
I actually wanted to end with a question asking, so I was wondering, who is initiating the projects? Are you initiating them by yourself? Or who is the client of the projects? Are there clients? Or
yeah, actually, we mainly work now for the public administration, but sometimes it happens what you say, that we are proposing projects in the sense that the opportunity is there, So we discovered that when we have started to gather data ourselves, because there's a part of the office that also gathers data, for example, from the renter portals, So sometimes we go to work to the public client because we have data that we have mined ourselves, But architects now, we have powers that we don't have, that it's the transparency of the information, that we have more and more information available, and then we can go from the outside to a public client and say, we need to work on this direction, And it happens to us that sometimes it has worked like that, that we have discovered something, some correlations, and we said, we go and propose a project, or we try to find a fund, a fund of the Ministry of Science, for example, that we have now a recent project that is related it's about how citizens can train an algorithm to make more livable cities, That everything you will find it in our website, But for us, it was a project that was important after making Ciutat Bella to understand what makes the city livable, So that was a project that we said as an office, we need to do it, so we find a way, So the data, we know where it was, and we find a way, So the client is there, of course, because we couldn't be, this marvelous team of people that we are without clients. But for the students, I think it's important to know that now they have an opportunity that, at least when I studied, was not possible, to propose to the public administration ideas.
Do you also work for environmental organizations? This was coming to my mind when I was listening to your lecture, that in Germany there are very strong environmental organizations, and they also go to law basically to push through certain issues.
Yeah, actually, we are involved in a civic initiative on this way. I cannot say more.
Okay.
But yes, of course. Actually, no. We have a really nice example on that. It's also from the very beginning of the office that we have been collaborating with an NGO here in Barcelona that make the homeless census. Because it's something that the city council didn't do it, so they did it with 900 volunteers, and we have seen, that they were like, in the TV. Actually, we have seen that we were in the street with Google Maps, really, Google Maps that they print it themselves. So we say, okay, we can help them with cartography, and we have created a really it's a really high-tech, low-tech project where we print we have divided Barcelona in certain areas. Each area is for one of the teams of volunteers. It's a system, that makes this atlas really easy to print. You get a sheet with your map, and that you can go there, make this exploration, a note, if you find these homeless people or not. And with a barcode, then we digitize and we obtain a collective map, that in a night, can be digitized, and then they know, how many people is living in the street, So we try to, it's not non-profit part of the studio, but of course we try to help, to all these civic movements, because we believe that it's really important, that citizens are involved in this process. And if we are working with data and we don't have data about certain issues in the city that are important, we need to help, to digitize it, And with homeless, it's really clear. It's something that you need to go, a lot of people, count, and put on a map. And with that, you can create a social public policy, which is data informed. So we try to, there's like a kind of a part of the studio that it's working on projects about the digital divide and involving the citizenship. And it's a little bit related to to Benedict's question, that another way of involving cities in this way of doing it's that they can be the data producers, somehow.
Okay, let's say that we're gonna finish the YouTube live version, and we might have a few more questions from the students. Maybe they look like a bit shy. So let's finish that. Say goodbye to the YouTube audience. Okay.